Hey guys, what's up? Charles Floate here and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Digital Gods interview series. In today's interview, I have got James Gregory. He is an awesome SEO and a friend of mine for the last 10 or so years. He has been on this channel before, but he hasn't been on the channel for about 3 or 4 years at this point. So he's coming back with a bit of a bang, and we're going to be talking about scaling agency backlinks, making sure you're going to be maintaining that quality, and all the new business endeavors he is going to be jumping through for the rest of this year and the years to come. So it's a really good interview. If you're interested in scaling link building and national and international level SEO, this is the interview for you. Let's jump into it. So welcome to the channel, James. I know you have been away from the SEO community for a while, and it's the last time you were on the channel was about 3 or 4 years ago now. So for those that are new to the channel or for those that haven't seen our previous videos together, do you want to just introduce yourself, who you are, where you've been, what you've been up to?
Yeah, so firstly, thank you for obviously inviting me to talk. I think it was actually a Twitter thread where I was tagged as well. So thank you to that guy for recommending me to be on. And basically, I'm just a 28-year-old performance, white, grey hat SEO. I'd probably class myself more as a business consultant these days. And I've basically been doing SEO since 2012. Just a little bit of how I got into SEO was basically my parents own childcare nurseries, and they really wanted to obviously rank these on Google Maps. And then after a little bit of Googling online, I'd obviously discovered the God of SEO blog. And that's kind of how we got introduced to stuff. And then, I managed to get them ranking. And then from then on, I was kind of hooked really. And I've always been tinkering with websites and stuff. So it was good to actually just kind of find someone who's already, doing it well. And obviously you were absolutely flying with the spam stuff, GSA, PBNs, all that good stuff back in the day. So, it was a very exciting time to get into it all. And then we obviously started the proper SEO group. And then instantly after that, I was able to quit my job. I was able to directly replace my income after only being in the SEO industry for like 7 months, and I'd quit that job. And the agency Headred that I worked for, all their SOPs, all their procedures, I'd pretty much just completely revamped it all, with the stuff that I learned from your blog and people like, Backlink Co. and, even the Neil Patels and stuff back in the day. And basically, I'm just looking to get back into the SEO game in terms of, being in the groups, being in the communities. So I basically got a knack for building these websites, building links at scale. And then I just thought to myself, why not build a white label, link building agency, hone in those skills. And then I was obviously known for, niche edits, guest posts, that type of stuff over 4 or 5 years. And then it got to the point over 2020, obviously with the whole pandemic. During that time, everybody was wanting to scale in terms of the more competitive industries in hopes, obviously, that once it's all over, that there's going to be a huge influx. So industries like gambling and stuff, I literally couldn't keep up, in terms of link building. And then after agency backlinks was then my primary focus, I kind of realized that I don't really want to manage a huge team of staff, link builders and stuff at scale. And I'm pretty much in the process of flipping that and integrating with a performance white label solution called Searcheroo. And prior to doing that, I was obviously building a lot of these links myself. And these days, I just spend my days working on my own projects and clients, global fashion brands, traditional PR agencies. So my day-to-day really is things like PR, link building, niche edits at scale, building my own websites, working on my own projects. I've got local projects, and further along the line, I'll kind of get into my client acquisition models and stuff. I know we've got a lot to cover. You did give me a few brief questions to go over, but yeah, that's just a little bit more about me, I guess, for the guys that aren't familiar.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so you said a bit earlier that when you first got into SEO, it was a lot of the really black hat kind of link building like GSA, and automated link building tools and stuff. I want to kind of talk about the current state of link building, because obviously there's not so much automated link building and stuff anymore. I know there's some people that still do it, and it still works in, you know, foreign and international SEO and stuff like that. But what do you see the kind of current state of link building going into 2022, and the current state of the link building industry in general as well?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because obviously with us, we've obviously watched it evolve and watched these link type evolve. And it's kind of just been like almost like the fashion industry where the old trends are coming back, but the staples are very much still there. And obviously things like GSA, SAPE, and all these things that we would promote, you know, back in the day, if you were to watch our old videos, just simply, you know, are not as scalable. Well, they are scalable, but they're not as, you know, safe long term. So for me, working primarily on white hat projects, you know, those type of link types, I just don't bother with anymore. And the industry as a whole, really, you know, it's kind of just filled with companies that are going out there, you know, and they're trying to, you know, sell backlinks when they haven't actually ranked any websites themselves, and they don't actively rank websites. So it's almost like the link building industry as a whole, we've almost, you know, the narrative of the Facebook groups and the online communities and the Twitters, we've almost propelled it where it's actually an industry in its own right. But people have kind of lost the point of you're actually supposed to rank the websites yourself, test the links yourself. And these companies are obviously going out there and building toxic links, or they're doing really weak outreach that's not personalized at all. And they're just placing links on link farms and private blog network sites that are actually, you know, doing way more harm than good. And they're not even sending any trust signals to their site, you know. So in terms of how people are going to get, you know, navigate the murky waters of the link building industry, you know, it's not inherently their fault. They don't have a strong outreach team, and you know, you need to find vetted partners and, you know, trusted people that are actually going to go out there and, you know, do the proper outreach and not go on websites, for example, that have right for us pages. You know, a large majority of all these websites are just drop domains that have been set up with the sole purpose of selling links on. So right now, people need to be fine-combing what actually makes a choice link type. You know, it's very easy when you can actually look at the websites themselves and actually see, are they talking about real industry content, or is it very generic type of Jarvis AI generated blog posts? You know, because with the rise of these tools, in terms of building spam networks and link farms, you can literally generate readable content, run it through Grammarly, and to the untrained eye, you know, these links aren't going to work. And it's obvious as well, if you actually look at the links going into these websites, and you'll find they've been artificially inflated using homepage PBN links, for example, or high DR, do follow, you know, blog comments. And you'll find in this climate, when people are blindly buying based off DR, you know, it's good for filtering, but it needs to be actually looking what type of content are they posting, what type of traffic are they getting, and is it industry relevant, you know? So I'm not sure if you're kind of seeing the same things in terms of, you know, what link types people are buying, you know?
Yeah, 100%. It does seem to be kind of an industry-wide issue. And I want to, this isn't really within the questions that I'd kind of outlined, but I've always wanted to divulge in stuff when it comes up. What do you see as some of the ways that customers or link clients or SEOs and things, agency owners, affiliate site owners can actually vet the link agency prior to them actually purchasing a link? How do you think, is it better than to jump on a phone? Should they be emailing a bunch of questions? How is it that they should be vetting and going about trying to vet the agency that they do choose to buy links from?
Well, I think at least vetting the founders and having a conversation with them and asking them what personal websites they have that they can at least show the links that they're selling, you know, that are being used. So for me, a lot of my core customer base are heavyweights like the James Dooleys and the Carl Hudsons, and they only really purchase links that move the needle and that are proven to actually move the needle. So for obviously working with just trusted partners, that's what you want to do. You want to see, look, what are your personal websites? What links that you sell have you been using to rank your personal websites? And can I acquire those same links? That would always be my first port of call before just putting in random orders or playing a guess game of I'm not sure what links I'm actually going to go and get. You know, it's imperative, really. There's so many cowboys out there that are selling links that are just going to harm your website. And that's why, for me, just save the guesswork, team up with trusted partners, find people that are actually ranking their own websites. And, for us, we need to actually make certain that any new website that enters our databases are thoroughly tested for toxicity. And we'll actually send the links to test websites, wait 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and actually see what was the net result of building and placing that link. And is it worth adding to the database, so always vet them for their own personal websites and the personal links types they are using. I would stay clear from people that start just sending you full reports of their actual link building clients, because that's a huge violation of privacy. It's completely out of order, really. Ask for their own personal websites and their personal projects and acquire those same links. And that's a much safer way to have an introduction to actually enable that type of business relationship when acquiring these links.
Yeah, and if they start sending you client reports, it's probably a bad sign anyway, because
at the end of the day, they'll be sending,
right?
And they'll be sending those client reports to other people in similar niches and saying, exactly. Hey, I can do things. So for them, they care more about sales and getting customers rather than moving the needle. For us, we keep our clients for 3-4 years at a time, because our clients are actively investing money, knowing the result, and they know if they give us like $50,000, the net result is going to be times 10 that in compounded revenue eventually. So they'll go and spend more and more and more. So it's in our best interest to ensure that the links move the needle, rather than having a high churn, of getting through new clients constantly. You want to work with people who are emotionally invested in your campaign, your website, and your business. Because at the end of the day, some of our agencies, they'll literally order like $50,000 of links in one go. And that's a lot of businesses that are putting food on the table for their families, for their partners. So for us, it's just so important that, these aren't toxic and they're actually going to move their website and provide a positive, business result,
Yep, exactly. So I totally agree with everything you said. So in staying in terms of link building and in terms of a link focus, what would be your main link types to focus on going into 2022? And is there any kind of new link types you're experimenting with? I know, for example, on Authority Builders, I don't know if you saw it recently, but on the Authority Builders community, they were talking about forum post link building recently as being a recent trend again, even though I know it's been a trend previously.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because there seems to be an insurgence of these forum post threads. But I feel as if the internet is becoming more community focused and more social focused, that people are having real conversation around these industries a lot more. Maybe the pandemic has had a rise in that type of thing. But realistically, forum posting has always been a link type that people use. And I feel as if unless it's actually relevant and you're contributing to these forum posts, they're not really going to stick around. Personally, I don't do it. I would prefer an industry blog, for example, even though there are no follow blog comments, but I'm actively making a conversation, a narrative for other people to tack onto and for people to reach out to. And there's a clear hyperlink in that comment that's going to funnel, traffic to me. People think that Google is just a search engine and it's the only place that humans move around the internet. But if you're going out there and littering all these, hyperlinks on with these really high IQ, great blog comments that incite conversation, you're going to get a lot of referral traffic. So I do think that those link types are good, but only from a referral traffic and obviously, lowering the bounce rate and showing Google that there is real world signals going to your website. I wouldn't rely on that to, increase DR or increase page rank or, what I mean? I would very much stick to a multifaceted approach of, for me, press and editorial links, they're my bread and butter really, in terms of we're going to build a really high value proposition that the website is going to, enjoy and want to share with their whole readership. So if it's like a DR90 press placement, like for me, I've just been going out there working with consultants for companies like Dentsu Group, who are obviously building for very big choice clients and just getting them to run the outreach for me. So I'm using press and editorial links, obviously niche edits at scale, hyper relevant guest posts and private blog network links. And apart from local citations, which I do across every website type, regardless if it's an affiliate website, local website, I'm doing local citations just so every website and domain that I have is a mini business in its own right with a a real physical presence, and I'm staying well away from Web 2.0 or pillow link building, and instead, obviously, giving real world value propositions and paying websites. I'm going out there and I'm working directly with websites. So look, I'll give you a small editorial fee to produce a great piece of content that's going to align with both of our audiences, and it's going to give value. And you know what? I'll actually do a Ahref search of the posts that I would like to be placed on, or a new post that I potentially could write or have written by them, and I'll see that there is traffic potential. I'll just give you $60, $80 to compose a really lovely piece of content, as an editorial fee. So for me, those are, the best chance of actually moving the needle, versus easy links to get. I think as a general rule of thumb, the harder the link is to get, or the funds exchange, the better the link will be. And if the link is easy to get and easily replicable, the lower chance it's actually going to move the needle. It could do more harm than good. So that's just a great rule of thumb in terms of building those links. And again, I've tested out things like press releases recently. So I don't know if you know that there's a guy called Madge. He used to be part of Black Hat community, and he's in all our groups. I think his Facebook name is Majid Hussein. He does these great press releases. I've also tried the press releases from PR Web and Searcheroo. And actually, when Agency Backlink was integrating with Searcheroo, we actually bought a press release, and we were featured on Bloomberg, which was just amazing, really, that Bloomberg actually picked up this release and placed it. And to be honest, it's a little bit naff, but to prospective clients and people not in the SEO world, it's great social proof. It's great social proof. It's great to share on socials. And when the fact that you can pay and it can be placed, it doesn't really matter the content type in terms of quality standards, because they'll proofread all of it and ensure it's going to be placed. It's just elevating your perceived value, really. But yeah, again, with stuff like press releases and stuff, just branded and naked anchors. And it's my only real link type alongside local citations that will provide a nice velocity spike, if you will, and further diversify the link profile. So stuff like niche edits, press and editorial links, and obviously private blog network links, I can use slightly more partial and search query focused anchor text, obviously. And, I'd like to just quickly touch on Help a Reporter as well. So Harrow links, which are a link type that have always been popular. People use hashtags on Twitter, such as journal requests, but I'd like to just recommend a tool called Headcom AI, which is recommended by a guy called Florian, who's, great tech SEO that's worth following on Twitter. I don't want to bastardize his last name, but I think it's Florian Kulj, German guy.
Florian Kluge, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, so he recommended Headcom AI, and it's fantastic. You get all these Harrow requests, and they have all these perfect templates that are proven to actually land placements. So they increase your chances of getting these Harrow links. So it's a great tip for you guys that don't want to pay for a press person or a PR expert to compose directly for these authors, using tools such as Prowly and link databases like Response Source, for example. You can actually just use Headcom AI and find industry mentions at scale, and you already have templates where you increase your chances of placement dramatically, really. So hopefully that gives people an idea of what to focus on, just based off what we're doing, really. There's no magical approach, and I'm not, advocating everybody else uses as link types, but just around the community of SEOs and the WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups of what people are doing every single day. These are kind of the link types to go for, and what we're focusing on.
Awesome. Well, that was a way more detailed answer than I had originally thought, but awesome. Yeah. So in changing the kind of topic of the conversation now, I want to talk about agency stuff, because I don't really do agency SEO. I don't really have clients, etc. anymore.
Oh, really?
Myself, yes, not really at all. So I wanted to talk to you more about how, number one, how you actually are going to go about acquiring more clients going into 2022, because that's probably the number one comment I get on my videos and on replies to my tweets and things about agencies is, it's all good knowing all the SEO in the world, but I can't acquire a client to save my life, basically, it seems, is what a lot of SEOs are running into. But I think it more might be that the fact that a lot of SEOs aren't salespeople, and then they're not exactly intrinsically in knowing about where to go and find a client. So what is your best way or best ways that you're going to be actually going and finding clients and acquiring clients in 2022?
Well, I think it's interesting that you touch on the fact that you don't really do a lot of client stuff anymore, which is interesting because obviously with your presence online, your approach is, I would think the top tier best approach in terms of, you're out there, you're talking about what you're doing, you're putting good stuff out, and people are seeing that and they're seeing there's no intent behind it. When there's intent behind the sale and you want something from the other person, with things like SEO and link building, where there's no policing, it's very hard to build trust. So I think just as a top tip, the best way is always, to connect with people at scale and just give value unconditionally and expect nothing in return when it comes to acquiring clients. But in terms of, what's actually going to put numbers on the board and what can actually be done quickly, for us, obviously, our bread and butter is these huge SEO groups on Facebook, where we've built them ourselves. We're the founders. And over the past, 6 to 8, 10 years, we've been posting these consistently, giving value, without expecting nothing in return. But basically, I think when you can show off real world examples and help people with forward thinking techniques for free and show people exactly what's being used, again, you naturally, acquire these clients. It's not uncommon for me to post on Facebook and then wake up with 20 messages wanting people to look at their websites or have a quote for a link building campaign. And, for me, I kind of prefer that approach because I prefer working with people who kind of already get SEO and understand it and know the ROI, behind it. So going out there and giving value, not expecting anything in return, just showing people what you're doing, on things like LinkedIn organic, Facebook groups, building out a personal domain, posting on Twitter, giving value, interacting. That's the most frictionless way just to get started right away, with a low barrier to entry, and you can help people genuinely and get clients out the back of that. But obviously, things like case studies and working with big clients with big budgets are what is going to entice people. So if you can offer people value early or for free and get a big portfolio of case studies together and then just distribute that at scale, why not distribute that at the client avatar and the person who's directly in line with, the client that you've already done the great work for? So obviously you'll then spread that across YouTube, Instagram, your Facebook personal feed, LinkedIn, interacting in industry groups. And then you can start ranking for phrases. You can start buying these phrases on PPC. People think, oh, that's going to cost money, that's expensive. But if you throw up a landing page, £3 to register the domain, you give Google £150 in ad spend, they'll match that and give you £150. That's 300 clicks. If you can get £1 a click for SEO phrases, that's 300 people at your landing page within 5 days. So every day you're going to have somebody to speak to on the phone who's going to be very interested in your service, and you're going to slowly start getting an idea of what the conversation goes like, what the narrative, what type of place they are in their life, what they want to achieve from their life, and how you can align your service offering with their narrative and their life story and what they want to achieve. And I could go so deep on this in terms of sales stuff, and I do think stuff like Sabri Subi, he's got great sales. I can't remember the name of it for life of me now. But basically, what can you do to prove to them that you've already done it? So you're almost just selling success, basically. So that's where having your case studies, buying traffic and showing people, look, we've already done it. We can do the same for you. Are you interested? Here's the data behind it. Here's what we're going to do. And just having that self-belief and that self-esteem and confidence that you can provide a good service. And that's where I think most SEOs slip up, because we all come from a very techie computer background. We're all the lads that are, we're in on their computers. We'd play out with our friends occasionally, but we'd love to just go deep on forums, go deep on code and stuff. And obviously that doesn't later on in life acquire to the best people or sales skills. So I think for me, just putting myself out there, going to events and just showing people what I'm doing with case studies, that's the best way to do it. There's no big intent where you're shoving what you're selling down people's throats. You're just saying, look, this is what we do and it's worked. They've made this from that. Would you also like to engage? So hopefully there's some value there and people can kind of get an idea, how you can play to your strengths,
Yeah, you gave them tons of ideas, I think, there for them to actually go through and do it. So keeping on the agency track, in terms of link building, a ton of agency owners, and I've spoken to them directly, even a lot of the big guys, they can do a link building campaign for one client. They could do it for 2-3 clients at a really high quality level. The problem is when you start dealing with 30, 50, 100 clients. How do you scale your agency level link building for those kind of clients whilst also maintaining the same quality as if you only had a handful of clients, right? So how would you go about both scaling your or how have you actually gone about doing it, because you've already done it, and how have you gone about scaling the link building whilst maintaining the level of link quality that is there as well?
Well, there's no magic answer for this. It's very, very difficult. You need to be certain that you're working with a team, like, for example, Searcheroo, those type of people who are just full of SEOs and affiliates that are just testing stuff every single day. Because to scale to that type of level, you have to be certain that the websites you're adding or the providers adding to their databases, like I said before, they're not toxic, they've got clean anchor text, and they're vetting the links that are going into those websites. So if people aren't vetting, these links before they even enter the database, you're never going to reach agency level scale or maintain any type of quality. So you can obviously see there's a clear lag there where you almost need to be building links at scale at your own websites and then going out there and selling the ones that have actually moved the needle and actually, rank. So realistically, you can't just tomorrow start a massive agency level link building agency, purely because if you're just buying databases that other SEOs have ran through, where they're literally driving the prices down, niche edits have been edited on them at scale, agencies, your own personal websites business, that's not the type of link neighborhoods that you want to be on, So in terms of agency level quality, are they moving the needle? Is it clean? Is it clean anchor text? Is it clean stats that haven't artificially been inflated with non-favorable link types? So yeah, it is hard to scale to this level. And every small nuance of your SOPs, you need to constantly be going back and refining them and refining your outreach process to be a completely huge value proposition and just simplify getting it right. There needs to be a certain finesse and authenticity that is only really learned through years of actually being in the trenches and building these type of links. For example, one tip that I could give to you guys is if you're doing an outreach campaign, by ending the end of the email with "sent from my iPhone" with a lowercase I, you can almost make it out that you're reaching out to them directly on your phone. And it's very personal. And if you're doing this to 300, 400 sites and there's multiple first name, text replacements within that email, it's so personal, So these are the lengths that we're going to with real people behind this outreach that are PR experts, journalists, and or site authors in their own right. And yeah, you can't shortcut genuine outreach, So if you're an SEO, web designer, developer, just work with trusted partners, work with the authority builders, with the searcheroos, even guys like myself that are doing niche edits at scale, just people where you can leverage huge data sets and teams. So you just got more time for your own projects and just enjoy being part of almost a, hive mind of business people that just get it. They literally just get it and they're making huge strides every day on these links that are tested specifically for their ranking ability and consistency. And then eventually you will be at a stage where you do have agency level scale with high quality links, So it all starts with that initial email or that initial website that you're reaching out to, or that initial SOP of an SOP, with those small nuanced details that you only get from years of in the trenches doing outreach,
So a lot of the work that you were doing previously was local CPA and local clients and agency level kind of SEO stuff. But recently you've been working with a lot more bigger SEOs, and you've been venturing more into the national space, and actually more so not even just national, but kind of going into a multi-niche national, international kind of site building mantra now, where you're transcending these kind of micro niche sites and building sites in the tens of thousands of pages and stuff to compete in literally potentially hundreds if not thousands of different niches and areas and across the country and across the globe. How have you seen that transition, and how do you go about ranking in so many different areas and niches?
Yeah, well, obviously one of our main clients, James Dooley and Kazra Dash, we have like 200 local sites, right? And we just thought, why are we building all these sites when we could just have one website that just ranks for everything, So it was like, it just made sense, instead of building all these little micro niche sites and maintaining hosting across each one, build that one site, ranks for everything. And how I kind of got into this was, it's always been my secret weapon in terms of networking, building relationships with other SEOs at scale, and obviously the private WhatsApp and Telegram groups. Just having an army of just 100 smart men and women who are all in local, affiliate, national, and all these hyper competitive niches like gambling, finance. And when every day they're placing hundreds of links and pages of content across so many territories and industries, it just kind of gives me this unprecedented advantage where almost I can get an eagle eye view of what markets to go in and what links to use. So if you just, for example, go into Ahrefs and put websites like Captera, for example, you can export all their phrases and you can find all of these almost directory style phrases to go after. And it's just like an unlimited, when you have one domain that just ranks for everything, when you make a new page, it's like unlimited scalability and potential, The reason why all of these people are winning is because they just move so fast. Like, I don't think SEOs realize speed is key. Guys like you, guys like Diggity and stuff, they can literally throw up an affiliate site or a lead gen site in a day with like 50 referring domains, 10,000 words from day one. And I'd just like to mention, when building a site like this, across our network, we literally have 260 million web pages that are indexed live in Google that we're tracking and ranking using software like Nightwatch. And just not many companies have this level of data live in the SERPs. So it's obviously fine to do single variable tests, but having live feedback in the SERPs across so many web pages, across 650 different industries, we can just perform these tests, these live feedback tests on these really large scale testing models. And yeah, the website that we're talking about, this national level website, I built just shy over 400 referring domains in under 3 months. And on Ahrefs, it's predicted to have $40,000 a month in free organic traffic, but it actually makes more than that in pounds in revenue from affiliate offers in debt, finance, loans, and iGaming, and all the gambling phrases. But all these micro niches, all these Windows, the painters, we're still throwing up pages for these industries as well. So obviously, all these topical authority hubs at scale and all these content spokes, we're able to almost create these hubs for these phrases, do a review of every single company in these phrases to further add a unique spin. So we're also getting branded traffic for prospective clients. Now, this is interesting because this brings me back to how I'm getting clients. So not only are we ranking this website, and within 3 months of link building, it's making over £40,000 a month, but only £12,000 a month of that is from affiliate offers. The rest of it is from actually selling listings on the website because we rank number one for said phrases. Now, the magic is we also doing a review of every single company and adding a unique spin and a unique, almost we're providing Google with the entity data of all the humans across all of these industries and all of these companies, while simultaneously ranking for their money phrases above them and ranking for all of their brand terms. So you can see all this informational content from the content spokes. Once they start ranking, we start getting referral traffic from Google. Eventually, these money phrases are starting to rise. So it's almost, it's very nuanced and it's very quick. As soon as I got to the 2-month mark, straight away, Google started giving us brand traffic from all the brand phrases, the informational phrases, and then our main topical authority pages that it's all being interlinked back to, the money pages, are now ranking, for their own right. So in terms, phrases around PR, we're ranking number 1 for, outranking huge agencies, but then we're also ranking for the huge agencies' brand names. And then for me, any day I can pick up the phone and I can just have a shopping list of 20,000 businesses that we outrank them for their money phrases, but we also rank for their brand phrases. So it's very powerful when you're giving Google the featured snippet data on individuals. So you can start to see where we're going with this, where over time, this is going to compound and we're going to be the authority site that is the topical search engine for not only every industry in the UK, but every human behind that industry. And, there has been the odd thing, for the guys that are in the groups, you'll see the Gary Wilsons that have been doing posts around certain sexual orientations of certain SEOs, just to kind of show how quickly we can steal the featured snippets for these individuals. It's absolutely, absolutely insane. And just to give people an idea of how they can replicate this type of thing, we literally have just shy of 2,000 pages indexed in Google, and most of them are completely unique, random industries. Again, the topical authority pages, and then the hubs, the content spokes around these. And they're on average 1,560 words. And all the content is written by a 70-strong Manchester offices, that are owned by Searcheroo. They're writing all of this content at scale for these websites. And again, like I said, I'm exporting the Capteras, the Barks, again, all our local websites, all the phrases we rank for. For me, every single page is a mini business and a new money-making and client acquisition opportunity in its own right. And this website has 5 different ways in which we can monetize. So every page is monetized from a CPA, local lead gen offering, from selling listings on the website, from doing reviews, and eventually being the search engine, if you will, for every single entity and human around every single business and industry in the UK. So it's a national takeover project, if you will, and it's getting to the point now where we've just cracked this, almost self-perpetuating state where obviously Google is just sending traffic from all these just random pages. Like, companies are contacting us like, you're literally writing about me. Can we change this? And can we also be number 1 on your, commercial intent phrases? It's interesting,
So it's gotten to the point now where you're almost able to control the narrative of a company, right? Because you control their featured snippets, or you control featured snippets around their keywords and around their brand and around all their money keywords as well. One alteration could mean the difference maker between a company being the number 1 company, according to Google in the world, or in that country, or not, basically. So it's an amazing amount of power that you can build yourself, right? Is becoming an authority. But this is not just becoming an authority in one niche or one area. It's becoming an authority in the entire country, right? So that's how it's so powerful.
Yeah, there is one thing I want to touch on, which I think a few people might think, well, how have they managed to do that in 3 months? How have they managed to build a 40 grand a month website in 3 months? And you've got to take into the fact that we found an expired domain for £4,000 that was almost a perfect match in terms of previous use and intent behind the website. So this has allowed us to repurpose the old pages and even actually make blog posts announcing the acquisition of said company. Again, using Madge's press release service, Searcheroos press release service, to actually do a narrative of, no, we've acquired this company and this is what we're doing now. But there was also pages that have had years of index age in Google. So the reason why, just to touch on niche edits, why niche edits work so well is because that page has been indexed in Google. So if you get placed on an informational resource page that's been indexed in Google since 2005, it's almost as if that index age authority and years of Google sending traffic to that page is passed on to that website. So for us, this £4,000 domain already had index age and topical authority around a lot of these industries and subjects that we already are now the authority in. So that's, that kind of provides people more context into how we've been able to obviously achieve it so fast. Not only did we build the website on a choice domain that we've had to acquire because it's just so brandable, but we also repurposed a business that almost was a perfect match. So hopefully that gives people a little bit more context into how we've done it so quickly.
So you basically had the perfect foundation to trigger such amazing growth from the site, basically, and that is kind of how things come about. And the success of SEO is you hit the jackpot and you get really lucky on a domain or a link or a piece of content or something, and that's a lot of the time where people get the most success is they just get lucky in SEO.
And that kind of brings me to a point that I've been thinking about recently for new guys, where how do I get into the SEO space? If you, for example, think of a house being an asset, or things that are working for you or things to invest in, people need to think of a domain as an asset, and a domain is a potential mini business in its own right. So if you're a brand new SEO out there and you're listening to this now, just know that for £3, you can register a domain, write content on there, and Google will send you users to your website without even building links. If you're the expert on said topic and you know that there's low search competition, just know that registering a domain is a business in its own right.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly, and it's a lot of people who are new out there as well. I think that's perfect advice, that get started, get dug in, start actually doing something rather than just absorbing information. And a lot of the times absorbing that information can be kind of contradictory as well in some places and things. So just getting started, getting done kind of gives you a clear path of how to do it again and again and again. So I'd just like to thank you for coming on the show. I think everybody in the audience is going to really, really appreciate everything that you've said today.
Yeah, no, but hopefully I've given you guys some actionable value and stuff that you can take away straight away. It's a lovely note to obviously end on, with a clear foundation, right support system, right team behind you. Anything is really possible in this game, We're still going to cruise along, adding thousands of pages a month to the website. I'm going to be reinvesting heavy into our reverse sink or swim guest posts and PBN links. And again, using the niche edits on supporting content pieces, informational content spokes, and then eventually start sending the homepage links and money foundation links, and that's it. So it's a lovely note to end on. Thank you very much for obviously inviting me on, and I look forward to doing more of these in the future. And
hopefully we'll be able to have you in person at the Search Birmingham May event of this year. So thank you once again for having you on, and thank you to everybody who tuned in as well. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, because I got a ton out of it, and I know James has given way more than I asked him to do in that call. So thank you once again, and peace.
Cheers. Thank you.